When you think of your formal education, we spend a lot of time teaching reading, writing, and speaking. Well, we spend very little time teaching kids how to listen. And kids need to listen to each other, but we need to learn how to listen to kids really well, especially in the area of bullying, when victims are sharing with us. We need to be careful to watch body posture. We need to be careful, especially if you have a bully and a victim standing next to one another. You need to watch and pay attention to how they're speaking, their cadence, their body posture, and so on. Now, we are not very good listeners. Matter of fact, I'm a terrible listener. Terrible. I will listen to someone and then raise another topic before I even, totally unrelated to what the topic was that the person was speaking to me about. I've done this. I know it. I'm not that good. But I do know this. Most people listen to respond. They don't listen to really hear and understand. You could always tell somebody that's listening to respond because they're usually leaning on their back foot and going forward on their front foot. They can't wait to say something. They're like this as you're talking to them. So we have to understand the different levels of listening, and we also have to understand that people do suffer from a cognitive bias. Bullies do. We know that. People hear what they want to hear. Okay, bullies often suffer from a cognitive bias. They hear things differently. Cognitive bias is like a person who is always removing the comma. For example,
let's eat, mommy. What a bully hears, let's eat, mommy. It literally is a cognitive bias. They often hear what is unintended.
And it happens all the time. And we as adults can do it as well. We hear what we want to hear. We don't hear and we don't seek to understand. Stephen Covey has as one of his 7 habits that he talks about in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And the way you can make somebody aware that you understand them is to develop the ability to reframe and rephrase what they say to you before you state your point. So there's 5 types of listening that we have. Okay, number 1, ignoring. Ignoring. We don't mean to ignore, but we do it. We either do it by looking at our watch, looking at the floor, looking down the hall, looking down at a piece of paper. Whatever the case may be, we have the capacity to ignore. And sometimes we can look like we're paying attention real well, but our mind is on another planet. Our mind is on another planet. And we have to be aware of where our mind is when a student or when someone of significance is sharing information with us, because it's absolutely critical to completely understand it. But we ignore well, and we don't even know it. Next one is pretend listening. Pretend listening is what you do with someone when you're on the phone with them and you want to get off and they don't. And you're kind of like in this process of, right, yeah, I got you, and you're going through, like husbands do this real well. They're yesing their wife, okay, and then their wife says, well, what did I just say? And they're like, they don't know, because they weren't really paying attention. They were pretend listening, and we do this, we do it, we don't mean to, but we do. Our interest level's just not there, so we make like we're interested when we're really not. Selective listening. Selective listening we do with a 3-year-old. Because if you listen to everything a 3-year-old had to say, you'd go crazy. So you wait for blood-curdling screams or whatever the case may be, then you start paying attention. Because you can't, if you stayed at home, an at-home mom usually can't wait for her husband to get home to have adult conversation. Once again, it is a known fact that everybody has to use a minimum of 50 50,000 words a day. We have to get rid of 50,000 words. And when you think about it, just for a minute, you think about it, okay? A mom at home with a child, 2, 3 years old, okay, may use 800 words. Maybe 800 words, because she's spending so much time listening to that child. Dad goes to work, okay, by the time he gets home, he's already used 49,800 words. So when he gets home, he's got 200 words left. Mom has 49,000 words left. Who do you think is going to do most of the talking when Dad walks through the door? Mom.
And that's the book by Dr. Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And there's also dietary implications for that to restore certain enzyme levels like serotonin, et cetera, for each of the people playing those roles based on what they went through during the day.
I used to believe that there was something wrong with my wife at the time when she would wake me up in the middle of the night. Can't this wait till the morning? No, she had to get rid of like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 words to have a conversation. Why are you waking me up? I got to tell you something. You didn't have to tell it to me then. You could have told it to me in the morning, but you had to get rid of the language. So that's the way it went. Okay? So that's selective listening. Attentive listening is when we are paying attention, we are attending to the person that we're with, okay, and we got our ears involved and our eyes involved, okay, and our heads probably involved too. We're attending, but we're still not at the point where we're seeking to really understand. We're paying attention to what they're saying, but we're not putting things together. The granddaddy of listening is empathic listening. This is where you listen with your eyes, your ears, your heart, your soul, your mind, your body. Your head is in that conversation, and you can place your brain right where they are, listen well, and be able to tell them exactly what they said in your own words before you state your point. Before you state your point. This is the listening that our victims need. It's almost as if I'm suggesting here we need to feel their pain. We need to know what they go through. We need to really understand it, because as we understand it, we can help work with them and provide solutions to what they're going through. So these are your 5 types of listening skills.